we go. Shelby's going to start us off in the beginning of the chapter, and while Emily sets up everything to the PowerPoint. So, take it away, Shelby.
Okay, I'm Shelby. We had task groups. The primary purpose of the task groups is problem solving and decision making. Task groups are used to generate new ideas, to make decisions, and to find solutions to organizational problems. And the task groups has 3 primary purposes: meeting clients' needs, meeting organizational needs, and meeting community needs. I'm just going to go over all the guidelines that it takes for leading task groups. The first one is establishing the group's purpose. You have to figure out what the purpose is for your group. A statement of purpose should be broad enough to cover different goals, yet specific enough to define common nature of group's purpose. The potential sponsorship of task groups. In assessing an organization, a sponsor for the group for the proposed group, the organizer of the group should pay attention to the purpose of the group and the organization's policies and goals. For example, a council of ministers may be a good fit for sponsoring a task force to study the need for an expansion of a church-affiliated child care center, but the local Hooters restaurant may not be a good fit for sponsoring the task force to study the socio-political environment for women in the community. Selecting potential members. Members should be selected for their expertise, their interest in the task, and their position and power to help the group accomplish the purpose. The size of the group. The organizer needs to make a decision regarding how many members are needed to accomplish the task effectively and efficiently. Large groups are better for accomplishing complex tasks because the increase in expertise and resources of a larger membership. But the disadvantages of a large group are each member have less opportunity to speak, and each member will receive less individual attention. And large groups can often be harder to manage. Meeting place and room. The setting of the group has a profound effect on the conduct of the group meetings and on the behavior of the group members. Too large of a room can put distance between members and can result in some members tuning out and not paying attention, and too small of a room can lead to discomfort and is especially challenging for anyone who tends to be claustrophobic. First meeting. The first meeting, there needs to be lots of introductions so everybody gets calm or gets to know each other and relax. Some icebreakers. The middle stage, the leader needs to balance the content and process, the content in which the information and feelings expressed in the group, and process, which is how members interact in the group. During a meeting, when the meeting is near the end of time, it is often desirable for the leader to summarize what they have accomplished during the meeting, and it may be constructive to praise the members for their work. And evaluating and terminating. It is essential for a group to evaluate the extent to which the group has accomplished its goals during the middle phases and when the group is nearing the time to terminate. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren.
Hey guys. So I'm going to talk about conflict. Can you guys tell me any of you guys, any conflict that you guys have had in groups and how you dealt with it? With anybody that you may have not have known. Oh yeah.
Some groups could have multiple athletes, so a lot of athletes are gone at the same time. Or some are gone and then some are back and it just doesn't work out. And
yeah. You have to give a family all over again.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? Did you just over time?
Oh, we just never know.
Okay. All right. I mean, there's different ways to resolve conflict, guys. At least you didn't say, come at me, bro, you know, like, that's good. But anyway, the definition of conflict is an antagonist state of action involving divergent ideas or interests and is inevitable in groups. And many people in our society erroneously believe that conflicts only produce negative results and should be avoided. But, I mean, conflicts, if you really think about it, kind of help us grow and deal with different groups of people. And that's what we have to do in groups. Like, we have to always just feel out the group and work with them and have a healthy relationship in the end, because if we want to effectively work together and get the work done properly, we have to resolve it. And so, conflicts are not only a natural part of any relationship within a group. Without conflict, members may become bored, and disagreements often spark the interest and curiosity of group members and produce lively discussion. So there's another example, like it can bring up new ideas. Like if people don't really agree with each other and they state why they don't agree with each other through that conflict, they learn new ways to deal with the group and like have new ideas for the group to maybe expand upon. Instead of trying to get one way or the other, they all just come together through that conflict, and they in turn like bring up new possibilities. And then let's see, techniques for resolving conflict can be in this process called win-lose approach, and it's when a group as a whole loses because it fails to achieve its long-range goals and objectives. The losing side is not motivated to carry out the winning decision. The losers resent the winners and may attempt to reserve the decision or impede its implementation. In such an atmosphere, distrust increases between opposing sides. Communication becomes more limited and inaccurate, and groups' cohesion decreases. Members' unresolved feelings often result in biased judgments and actions. Members will frequently refuse to vote for good ideas simply because they dislike the person who suggested it. And then the win-lose approach leads to deceitful expression of ideas and feelings because winning sometimes receives higher priority than honesty. Disagreements tend to be interpreted as personal rejection on, sorry, I lost my face. Personal rejection on the part of opposing group members, and groups' future decisions are generally poor. So in the no-lose problem solving, it asserts that it is almost always possible for both sides to have their needs met in a conflict situation. And the 6 steps to the no-lose problem solving approach are: identify and define the needs of each opposing side, generate possible alternative solutions, evaluate the alternative solutions, decide on the best acceptable solution, work out ways of implementing the solution, and evaluate how it worked. And creativity is a process of bringing something new into existence. So like I was saying, like creativity can cause conflict, but it can also resolve it, because when you try and bicker about something, you're not getting anywhere. But when you present a new idea and try and make it work by being creative and thinking outside of the box, it can actually work to your group's advantage. And then role reversal is when each person expresses his or her own opinions or views only after restating the ideas and feelings of the opposing person. These ideas and feelings should be restated in a person's own words rather than or mimicked in the exact words of the other person. And then empathy. This is all under creativity inspired by conflict, by the way. And then empathy is, obviously we all know what empathy is. So we've been through, it's like the psych program, you know, all the classes. It's putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, which helps also like that whole, when you see conflict in your group, you want to be that one person to try and see both sides of the table and try and come together with an idea, which ends up being creative. And then disarming, or wait, no, inquiry is using gentle, probing questions to learn about what the other person is thinking and feeling. Tone of voice is very crucial in inquiry because asking a question sarcastically or defensively is apt to draw defensive responses from the person you are in conflict with. So, and then disarming is finding some truth in what the other person or side is saying and then expressing your agreement, even if that other person is largely wrong and unreasonable, irrational, and unfair, because it becomes more likely they become more likely to hear you out if you kind of realize and respect each other. And then iMessages are honest and open communication between parties in conflict. So just being bold and being out there with your honest opinion and seeing where it goes. Stroking is tells the other person that you respect them, even though both of you may be angry. Often people in argument tend to overreact, and differences in opinion are blown out of proportion. To prevent this reaction or this rejection, simply let the other person know that although you are at odds, you still think highly of him or her. This makes it easier for him or her to open up to listen because she or he will feel less threatened. Myself, like, I didn't grow up in a household where like we really dealt with conflict because my parents are like really, really, really sweet, and like we just said we're sorry when we had to, but we didn't really feel it, and we didn't really explain why we were sorry. So we didn't really meet up to like feeling empathy or feeling, you know, like role reversal or anything like that, because we weren't taught properly. Even though, you know, my parents did a good job, we just are not a conflict type of family. We're not good with that. And so I'm learning through college and through different people, like, all right, like, I need to use empathy. I need to let go of my pride and not think I'm always right in a situation where it's, okay, they could be coming from this side instead of the side that I think they are. And so talking about it really helps. As you guys probably all know, you've dealt with conflict probably better than I have, but I'm learning, and I really appreciate college for that too. So that's my story, but Emily, take it away.
I'm going to talk to you guys about problem solving, and this is the problem solving song. Okay, just think. Okay, so that's kind of, you get kind of the gist of problem solving. It's not really every little thing that we're going to talk about, but you kind of get the gist of it. Okay, so identification and definition. The most precisely and accurately a problem is defined, the easier it is to solve. Okay, so we have two examples. 57 young children in a 6-block square area of this city are in need of care during the daytime because their parents are working. The first one, the terms are defined concretely, and because the problem has a group, it has a location, the period is specified, the problem can easily be addressed. But number 2 is kind of different. So some children in some school system in this city seem to be becoming more apathetic about the way their lives are going, and something should be done about it. So this one's a little bit different. There's no location, the symptoms haven't been identified, so there's no way to determine a solution to that. Assessment of size and causes. Once the workable problem is defined, the group next gathers information to help it assess the magnitude and causes of the problem. In assessing the magnitude, the following questions arise. Who is affected? How many people are affected? How seriously? And where are they located? So just like in the first example, those are kind of the questions that we ask. Yeah. So here are some examples of that. And highly unemployment is a problem in the state, and most of the unemployed are untrained for available jobs. This suggests that programs to train the unemployed for available jobs will help alleviate unemployment. And only rarely is it possible to resolve a problem without knowing its causes. So an example of that, it would be some urban renewal projects have rebuilt blighted areas without knowing all of the causes that led to the deterioration of housing and living conditions. Development of alternative strategies. The third problem solving step is to formulate alternative ways to solve the problem. Brainstorming is a useful technique for generating a wide range of strategies. Assessment of strategies. The merits and shortcomings of each strategy must be assessed, and often a cost-benefit analysis of each strategy is done. And then an example of that is if racial segregation is a problem in a large city, judgments must be made as to whether the cost of school busing to achieve school integration, such as transportation costs and movement away from the benefits of the neighborhood, justify this type of busing. Selection and implementation. The fifth step involves 2 separate processes. The first is decision making, in which the group selects one of the proposed alternative strategies. After the strategy is selected, the group must implement the strategy. Generally, the most solid the group's support for the selected strategy, the greater are the chances for its successful implementation. Evaluation. So once implementation is complete, which is the last step, evaluating the strategy's success in 2 areas is necessary. Was the strategy fully implemented, and what were its effects? The main criteria is the extent to which the strategy has narrowed the discrepancy between the actual and the desired state of affairs. The evaluation phase should demonstrate the extent to which the problem has been resolved, what remains to be resolved, and what new problems have been identified. So, not surprisingly, this stage leads to another problem. So, solving one problem only makes another one arise, and you're doing the whole process over again. Inadequate definition. So these are the barriers to effective problem solving. If a problem is stated imprecisely, individual group members are apt to vary in their interpretation of the problem. An example of that would be someone saying like children are under too much pressure in our school system. The possible interpretation of too much pressure comes from many different things. It can come from academic pressure, pressure to use alcohol and drugs, religious pressure, pressure from teachers and parents, pressure resulting from racial tension, pressure to have sexual experiences, and pressure to break the law. So you could have different interpretations of one statement. Invalid hypothesis, closely related to inadequate definitions. Invalid hypothesis and theories about the causes of a problem are also erect a formable barrier. I guess a long time ago they used to say that emotionally disturbed people were possessed by demons, and that in the early 1900s criminals were considered to be mentally retarded. And 200 years ago, physicians thought that bloodletting, which means like putting a leech on someone that was ill, would help them, and that's what that picture is. And obviously none of those things are true, so the hypothesis was wrong. Poor communication. Poor communication in a group may exist for a variety of reasons. Group members may not possess well-developed communication skills, or some may withhold information in an attempt to manipulate others in the group. Lack of skills is kind of like an easy one. Just a group may lack the skills to define and solve a problem. A group may not have the expertise to design and conduct a necessary research study. This is kind of the same one, lack of resources. So like if you don't have enough money, then you can't, sometimes you can't solve that problem. Lack of motivation, lazy guy. Some groups fail to solve problems because their members are not motivated to do so. It's kind of a no-brainer there. And brainstorming. Brainstorming is a procedure designed to generate ideas in quantity through the full participation of group members. I'm sure you've all brainstormed at one point, so you know what that is. The procedure helps individuals share their ideas without the interpretations of discussion or evaluation. And I have another video. Has anyone seen the movie Apollo 13?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is from that movie. It's only about a minute long. If I can get it. That's not what I want. This is them brainstorming. I'm sure you've all brainstormed. Not this.
Cool commercials.
Yeah, you're all excited to see what works.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, they're brainstorming on how to bring them home. So now I think we're gonna do an activity that involves brainstorming and problem solving. So, can we get in groups of like 3? But I think there's gonna be one of 4. So yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Yeah. 12 is good. 12. Yeah. 12. Yeah. 12 and a half. 12. Or 13. Don't give me Okay. Okay, this is kind of going to be a race. So, I guess I have the answers to them all. So, whoever finishes them first will check you, and then whoever wins gets through them all gets some M&Ms. So, okay, hold on. Let me tell you how the first one goes.
Yeah, they need some. Is that it? This one gets some? You gonna start keeping it? Yeah.
I'll show it to you. I'll just draw it. I can find the page.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one, I'm sure you're like, what the heck is that? So this is how you're gonna do it. This is how you set up the Q-tips. You're gonna have here. Okay, so there should be 12, you should have 12 matches, and you're going to put them like that. Okay, now, like your little paper says, by changing the position of exactly 3, or not matches, they're Q-tips, but reduce the number of squares to 3 small squares. Go.
We have to take away 3 to make. So we have to take away 3 of them
To make
3 boxes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have one too many.
What do you got? Okay, fine.
You shouldn't have 13, you should have 12.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, well that one's for the next one. Just put that one down.
There you go. Yep.
Only 12. You're only using 12. The 13's for the next one.
There you go.
You have to make 3 boxes, but so reduce the number.
Change the position of 3 of them.
So we have to see the numbers. Or
Yeah.
we got it. Say make
Okay.
Okay, so move 3. Move 3
Wait.
to make 3.
That's wrong.
Okay.
I like this fucking football squares. That's wrong.
What do we do with the extra things?
You should only have, the 13 one's not for this one, so it's only 12.
So do we take them out?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're taking 3 of them out and you're putting them somewhere else.
Out of the 12.
Yes.
What page are you on?
Can we
Yeah,
reduce
you
the
can go
number
to
of,
pages 213.
do we reduce the number of Q-tips or like? do we
No,
keep the
you're
same
using
amount of
all
Q-tips?
12 Q-tips. You're just moving
Okay.
them.
You're making them into 3 squares.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
I
sense.
thought you said we take 3 out.
You're taking them out and you're moving them somewhere else.
Yeah. So use all 12, but make 3 boxes.
Yeah. They have to be
So we have to take out 3 of the.
You're taking out 3 and you're moving them somewhere else, like from the original thing. But you're like, make the 3 make another
So
box.
we're gonna take them out.
You're taking one,
So keep
three
it.
of them from each box or. Okay, I'll give them a hint.
Yeah, just.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a hint.
Are we almost there?
This Q-tip right here moves over here. Okay, that's all you get. You just
You're reshaping it.
Well,
The bottom
we're
that-
on the opposite side. It goes like this.
So hard. Yep. That makes sense.
Oh, we did it.
no.
Yes, it is.
No, yeah, no, that's
Yes, it is.
that's 1,
2, 3.
that's a big old square there.
Wait, so do we do it?
No. Oh, we got it.
I don't understand.
What the crap?
Yeah, we got it.
You only change the position.
Okay. See, I think they have to be. Okay, let's go back to the first.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
What?
That's not how I did it, but that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're
We're
gonna
doing
do
next.
It's like.
Do you guys want to see what they did?
all of them.
Wow.
My bad, don't have nothing in.
Wait, what?
Okay, that's if they get theirs, then you get yours, so you can move on.
There you go.
Oh, what?
I gave them theirs, so you can have yours.
So we won.
Big box.
So we actually
You didn't win. You
What?
gotta go to the next one.
But we won yours.
It's just
One that
small
one.
squares.
Okay, so this next one, this one's really hard. Okay, has everyone seen that? What this supposed to look? I'll show you in a minute.
They had like a box.
No, she said there's something just like that.
So you're gonna put your little Q-tips, if we're done, like this. So like a Manhattan glass. So it's gonna be one here, one here, one here, and one here. And this is a cherry here. You got a little cherry. Except it's just a Q-tip.
Is it? Do you want to see yours?
Okay, look, this is what it looks like.
No, I got you. I
Okay.
was joking.
Oh, we're using 2 for
No. You're using just one, so yeah, just one. There you go. And then you're gonna put it over. There you go. Okay, so without you're only moving 2 Q-tips, and you have to make a new Manhattan glass, but the cherry has to be on the outside. So you're making a whole new glass, same size, same shape, but the cherry has to be on the outside. But you're only moving 2.
Make an upside down glass.
Well, I don't have enough M&Ms to do it. I can move it.
Oh, wait.
Yes, from the outside.
So whoever first.
That's why it's hard. You're only supposed to go for 2.
Yeah, we'll just.
Oh, it says do not move the chair.
They can get there.
Okay,
one first one.
you want the first one?
I don't know if that one's
We may or may not
Maybe.
have it.
Maybe.
Oh wait, no. Here we go.
Well, okay, show me how you
it.
move them.
Because it was like this.
Yeah.
So we just went.
So I guess it's whoever.
Well, there you go. Good job. Okay. What do y'all group? I'll have to write your names down.
Hey, we got 2.
No.
Why don't they do it?
That is a glass.
Okay, so y'all move to the next one. I'll show you. Let me draw it for you. You can't see this because I think it's yeah, this one.
Oh, we have to keep going?
So
Yeah,
you
keep
got
going.
it. Keep going.
Keep going, figure it out.
Read it. There you go.
Oh, on
Do we
this.
move
Yeah.
the cherry or do we not move the cherry? Do we move the cherry or not?
No, the cherry's not moving.
Change the glass
Foldable cup.
to where the cherry ends up being on the outside.
You have to have it.
So make a glass, but don't move the cherry. So make sure that the glass changes to where this is outside of the glass.
But we can only do 2 of them. I was trying to make it drive me crazy.
I know.
You guys need to.
Done.
Bam.
Ain't that what I did the first time?
I thought we did.
Hey,
I swear that's what I did.
I know, and we won the first
I
one
was
too.
playing, but
well, the first one, okay, the first one, we had to have 3 small boxes. Louis, we got it. But you guys
There you
made
go.
one big one.
that is your size.
Hey, we got it.
Hey, but they got it.
You don't like
this
us,
one.
but we got
They
it.
moved this one and this one. And they got
There you go. Yeah, good job.
Okay, so the next one.
Yeah, okay. You just. This one.
We'll get a jump start on this one.
I can't show you that. Do you have your book? Here, I'll just do it.
That's yours.
Hey,
Oh, straight line.
hurry up.
Calm down.
So, one has to go.
Dang it.
Alright,
Saying here, come this way, and then go in, and then back
minute.
out, and then around.
keep track of who gets what. So here's group 1, 2, 3.
Wait, so we
You
only
have to
need
connect
3?
all 9 dots with 4 straight lines, and you can't move your pencil from the paper. Like you have just, it's like a continuous movement.
That would be 1, 4, 1.
Yeah.
Because 1, 2, 3.
Alright,
No, I didn't do
Okay.
that.
We don't have to.
Oh, oh,
Maybe
well,
you
yeah,
start.
because we were transport line.
I think
That would stay like that.
the Louis screwed with the
Wait a
other
minute.
last